Check one.
Well, good evening, everyone. If you'd find your seats and your table, we'll get started. I'm so glad you're here this evening. My name is Erin Parker. I'm the principal here at Merwin. This is actually my 7th year in the district. I've been assistant principal for 3 years, and then I just finished being principal at Holly Hill for the last 3 years. And I'm so excited to be part of the Merwin Mustang herd now as the principal. And I just want to go over a few logistics in case you need restrooms. There's men and women on both sides here in our gym/cafeteria space. And just there's water and cookies and things in the back and coffee thanks to our Merwin PTO, so we can't do events like this without them. And I know tomorrow is Veterans Day, so I just wanted to recognize any veterans in the room if there's any. And hopefully that you all have an opportunity to celebrate veterans tomorrow. That's where you can see our Merwin Mustangs have decorated our gym for our event tomorrow. So, thank you. I'll hand it over to Mrs. Adams.
Thank you, Erin. We are so glad that you are here tonight. It's an incredible turnout. This is the 5th and final town hall of this series, of this type. And we have just been so blessed to have so many community members, students, and families come out to be a part of this conversation because we know it means you care. I don't know where the clicker is. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Tonight with us, we are very fortunate to have our fearless leaders, our Board of Education. And so I want to recognize, standing in the back, we have our President, Jim Rudy, our Vice President, Michelle Delaney, and member Ryan Patton. 2 members that couldn't be with us tonight are Michael Chumley, who happens to also be a Merwin parent, and we have Tammy Brakeman. So I know tonight was probably the last beautiful night of the year. This fall weather has been so amazing, so I'm just so grateful that you chose to be here with us. We want to also take a minute to thank some very special people in the crowd in our community, community leaders. So first I'll recognize Bob Proud, who's a former Clermont County Commissioner and is a substitute here in West Clermont. We're glad to have you, Bob. Craig Wright, Pierce Township Fire Chief, thank you. We have Jeff Bauer, the Dean of UC Clermont. We have Kathy Hogan, Associate Professor of UC Clermont. Thank you for being here. Jamie Brown, Community Development Manager at Girl Scouts of Western Ohio. Greg Hudson is up here from Ohio Youth Programming and Training Leader of the Supply Chain for OKI. Pete Campelos is the Pierce Township Trustee. Thank you. Tim Williams, Pierce Township Administrator, new community member. We're glad to have you. And finally, Chief Paul Brocksterman from Pierce Township. You all are special, but we are just so glad to have our community leaders as a part of us. I feel like West Clermont has such a community feel, and we know that as part of our listening and learning sessions, we really need everybody's voices at the table. So I want to first thank you for, many of you completed our REACT survey, and we're going to be putting out other opportunities to get some digital feedback here over the next several months as we continue to listen, learn together. And I really think this tonight is going to be an engaging night for you to learn a lot about the district. So this is our portrait of a graduate. It's the North Star that we use in West Clermont that really defines the kind of graduates that we want to develop. As they walk across the stage, we want to ensure that they have these attributes and that they truly have all the skills, mindsets, and habits of mind that will help them create the lives that they desire. And so as we think about our students tonight, because that's why we're here, that's what this is all about, I want to share with you some highlights of our current students and help us get into the mindset and understanding a little bit of what is happening to Gen Z, what has been their life experience. So these are just some details that we got from our research experts at CPI, our Crisis Prevention Institute. And this is what's been true about the Gen Z, who often also get called Zoomers. They have never experienced a unified America. They were kiddos that grew up during the Great Recession and so often found hardships in their families or saw wealth in their families or community members deteriorate during that time. When they started school, lockdown drills and the crisis, red alert kinds of drills and school shootings were just a norm. It was something that was expected in schools by the time they showed up. They've also, especially in our community in the Appalachian side of Ohio, experienced opioid crisis, where maybe family members have been incarcerated or fatally a fatality, or they've seen depression and mental health escalate. We have many families in our school district where there's grandparents being the caregivers or aunts and uncles because of the opioid crisis. And as we all know, every child in the Gen Z came into this world with social media being a thing. And so this FOMO, fear of missing out, seeing your whole world play out on social media, has been a challenge for this age group. And it has caused distorting their understanding, and it has elevated and sometimes exacerbated things. Sometimes they've had to learn things too soon in their life, and it's just hard for their little minds to take it all in. And all of this really happened before COVID became a crisis that we all were figuring out how to endure. And this robbed this generation of precious time with their friends and their classmates and their teachers in school. And now I introduce you to Generation A. They're also often called Generation C, the Alpha generation, or the COVID generation. There's not as much data about them because they're still itty bitties. We're talking pre-K to 4th grade of our students. And they have had to deal with everything that the Zoomers had to deal with on top of COVID. And so when I think about our time as educators here, being on Zoom calls where moms and dads were having, kids climb in their lap while they're trying to do their work and attend to all their needs, as well as they were trying to keep their household going, keeping their jobs and functioning in life, was a tough way to go for all of us. Everyone did the very best that they could, and our kids, there are side effects to that. And what we're seeing is that this generation has challenges with socialization and the self-management skills. And what we're finding here in our own district is that right now, 1st grade students have the worst attendance of any grade level in our entire school system right now, which is unusual. Usually you see that in the upper grades. And these kids are coming in with behaviors that make it very, very difficult and conducive to a quality learning environment. And this isn't something that's just happening at West Clermont, it's happening all around. But if you think about it, and I'm a modern mom and a modern parent, so I take advantage of all these things, but just imagine during this time how we've gotten our groceries delivered to our homes, click of a button. We're able to watch church from our couch, so we don't have to go learn how to sit quietly in a church. We have our medicine delivered to our house. We can have our household cleaning supplies. Everything is click of a button. I can have dinner delivered to my house. My son right now at Ohio State, there are little robots all over the landscape of Ohio State that kind of run amok, delivering food to college kids. That's the world we're living in. And so just think of all the learning opportunities that a child might miss out on if they're not going out to a library or out to church or out to a shopping mall or wherever where you learn socialization skills, because everything is convenient, click of a button, and that's the world we live in. And so these kids have lost, as we have taken on the modern advantages of our culture and our world, kids have lost some of these natural skills. And so you all remember this cartoon. I wonder who knows when George Jetson's birthday was, or is. Anybody know? Any guesses? Yes, we have some answers there. It's July 2022 was when George Jetson was born. And you can see that the Jetsons got a lot right. They did a great job painting a picture for the future. They were able to see that one day we would have a Roomba. They also predicted that we would have an Apple iPhone. I always say it wrong. My kids make fun of me, sorry. And then there's the classroom. Rows of students looking at a chalkboard, memorizing information, teacher standing in front of the room. This is hard. We've all been to school, we've all seen what that feels like and looks like. We all have mental images from the Disney shows we watch, from the Jetsons picture. And so today we're here to talk about this and to say, is this thing that the Jetsons had a hard time imagining, maybe sometimes holding us back because we are having a hard time imagining a different possibility. Are we serving our students well? When you think about the pace of change, all the things that are going on inside of our world, are our student learning experiences keeping up with that pace? And should they? So tonight I just want to share a couple facts. These are the top 10 workforce skills for 2025. And so as you look at each of those skills, you can see the complexity and the depth of knowledge that's required to exercise those kind of skills. And what I would invite you to think about is, are these the kind of skills that are fostered in a school setting, in a classroom, in a school day? What we're finding now is that people are able to apply for jobs, and employers are saying, we're not going to look at the college diploma anymore. We want you to come in with a certain skill set and show competencies in these areas, and we're going to hire you. So the whole idea of workforce and the skills that we need and the way job competencies are maybe top-notch, maybe a college degree is not the end-all be-all anymore, totally changes what might be happening in classrooms. In 1997, the amount of computer power that you could find at an Air Force base is now something that was once a present under a Christmas tree, is now the kind of power that we each have in our pockets today. Technology is pervasive in everything that we do. The wearable technology, it's not something that we can escape, and it's just incredible to think how it's come into our society and how it's taking over every aspect. And so how do we in schools learn to activate this technology in the most successful and productive way and bring out the very best in every human? Because knowledge, and this slide is even old, it's listed as 2013, and it says that knowledge is going to double soon every 12 hours. And so in all the research I've done recently, it's somewhere between 18 hours and 12 months. Knowledge is doubling. So when you think about our time in school, where you're learning information and then you're studying and you're presenting it for a test on Friday, that knowledge and regurgitation of information is doubling at such a rate our kids can never catch up to learn everything that they need to know with science, mathematics, whatever. And so how do we think more conceptually? How do we consider the tools that students have in their hands today to be able to do new and different skills? And finally, this pace of change has only been accelerated through the pandemic. Virtual health appointments, robots delivering packaging to your homes, smart data throughout your household. This pace is dizzying, and we're really just wanting to know, are we keeping up with that pace for the student experience? Are we able to ensure that the students are not being prepared for our future, but for the future challenges and hurdles that they're going to have to face as they emerge as adults? At this time, I'm going to bring up Chuck LaFata. He is our Director of Operations, and Dr. Amy Storr, she's in charge of elementary teaching and learning. And they're just going to highlight for you the top 5 challenges that we're going to be talking about tonight. Because as we look at our vision for where we want to take students, and we look at the pressures and the drivers of change that are impacting us, we want to make sure that we're wrestling with those questions here together as a group and dreaming big for our students and their future. So Chuck, I'll have you just share the overview.
Good evening. Thanks for coming. We have, the district is doing a comprehensive study and investigations into a lot of facilities, and under the leadership of Mrs. Adams, we've identified some areas to focus on immediately. Safety and well-being being number one. So we have an active community action committee that is currently studying and looking at school security, physical school security. We've done a safety audit in all of our buildings with the help of a security consultant and local police. Merwin, we had Chief Broxman and Chief Wright assist us there, and Larry Parise with technology. We also have a whole child network that is is growing and focusing on safety and well-being inside the school itself with the students and the teachers.
Hello, good evening. We are just, working all the time, trying to think about what the best ways to develop educational programming for our students. We have students preschool through 12th grade, an increasing number of preschool students, increasing number of students with varying needs and interests, and it's always important for us to consider new ways to develop educational programming that will help all of our students reach their potential, reach our Portrait of a Graduate outcomes, and to just be future ready. When we consider all of those things that Mrs. Adams shared about what the workforce is expecting from our students, we realize that it's important that we continue to develop programming to meet that need. And so we're really looking forward to some input and ideas from all of you regarding them. And sort of in a connected way, we have our 7 elementary buildings, 1 large middle school, 1 large high school. We have our preschools embedded into those elementary buildings. How might we best use the space that we have, the buildings that we have within our schools, outside of our schools, to just leverage things like time and space and the design, so that we can create instructional models that will meet the needs of all of our students, acknowledging that people's needs and the instructional needs that they have are just so different.
Thank you. Last spring, we started a facilities assessment of every building and grounds, internal and external for all sites. So that study now has grown into quite a vision for the district. It encompasses cost of HVAC repair over the years. We have previous costs. The cost of roofs, the age of the roofs, the paint in the building, the furniture in the building. In short, it's a complete snapshot of every building and every playground and parking lot in the district. So it's a living document. We can add to it each year, add good things, add bad things, add things that crop up, but we'll have a running document that I'm very proud of, because it's a very, very real snapshot in time of our current facilities. We tried to leave virtually no stone unturned in looking at it. The next phase in that actually is to survey all cleaning equipment within the building with a cleaning consultant. Find out what equipment is good, what's bad, what needs to be repaired, the cost. All of this, we've done all of this so we can put together a comprehensive 5-year plan for the treasurer and also for the district and for the community. It's peace of mind to know what we have and where we're going with it and how to maintain it. Transportation is part of that. The transportation, we outsource to Peterman. They own the buses and the bus drivers. We have a 3-tier system now. I'm not going to get into what that is, but it's a 3-tier system that currently best serves our students. However, we also did an exhaustive study over the past few months with the help of Peterman to look at different designs and how we can better transport our students, more effectively and efficiently transport our students. It also involved a traffic study by an independent company that was contracted by us to do study of traffic essentially near the high school and the middle school, since that's our 2 largest buildings. So in the past 2 slides, what we've tried to do is, again, I'm repeating myself, is give a true snapshot of the current facilities in your district so that we can adequately plan for the future.
So just to speak a little bit about this building in particular, you probably noticed when you pulled up, we added modular units to this school this year because of space issues. This room alone serves many, many purposes. Number one, it's the bathrooms, and so everyone's coming into this room every day all day long to go to the bathrooms. This is a cafeteria. This is a gym. There's a cafeteria behind me, and there's a cafeteria down that hallway in an elementary school. so that we can address the various needs. When we inserted specials back into the school system, there were some real positives about that, obviously, and yet some challenges here with space. And so you can walk in here, well, and behind that door, as people remind me, there is small group learning. And so when you have music and art and lots of movement in here and lunch, and you're trying to do some small group learning, it poses some challenges. It's nice and quiet in here today, especially when we turn off the fans. And so I think they do incredible things here to make it all work, but they're just the facility alone is some challenges for the school. And the population of Merwin alone is growing and changing, and has been for years, and we're having to make adjustments for it. So I just want to make sure that was pointed out to you tonight. At this time, I'm going to introduce David Brake and Randy Gephardt as the facilitators for this evening, and we will be turning the conversation over to you guys.
Thank you. Could I just get you to go back to the last slide, if you would? Well, this is called an interactive town hall meeting. Raise your hand if you're ready to go interactive. I thought so. These 5 topics, by the way, were not topics that were randomly selected. These have actually been validated within the community. For those of you who participated in the REACT survey, you had a voice in determining which topics were going to be selected and how important these were. Now, the interactive portion of this tonight, if you look at your tabletop, you'll see what looks like a game mat, all right? If this were a game, the stakes would be terribly high, because we're talking about the future of your children, the future of education, and not just the future while they're in the school district, but their future throughout their lifespan. We're going to do this in 3 rounds tonight, and you have a facilitator at your table. Each of the facilitators, if you haven't met them, raise your hand, wave, say hello. The facilitator will direct you. Randy and I will be offering some comments and instructions from the side. We're going to do this in 3 rounds. You're going to have sets of cards in the first 2 rounds. You're going to be reading them and discussing them. I will tell you now that some of the facts and figures that you read, you'll probably say to a few, yeah, I knew that, or I heard about that. There will be some others that you will have an aha moment. I didn't know that. I was surprised by that. We're trying to give you the same kind of information, the same facts that the district leaders use when they make decisions. One of the theories behind a town hall meeting like this, an interactive town hall meeting, is that the collective wisdom of the group will always be smarter than the individual. And that's why these are so important. This is your district, your children, your future, and I welcome you here. And Randy, what do you say we get on with it with the pace of change?
Let's do that. Once again, my name is Randy Gephardt. Some of you might have seen me in the past. I was the high school principal for 5 years. Right, Trinity? We have some students here tonight. Where are our students tonight? Thank you guys for being. I'll apologize now. I got a double shot of espresso at Starbucks, so we're going to try to liven this up a little bit. But we're going to do the pace of change, as David said. You have a facilitator at your table. Again, raise your hand, facilitator. All right, facilitators are going to take out their pace of change cards. Do not hand those out yet. Hang on to those. Where's the clicker? Let me find the clicker here.
Right here. I can move it.
You'll see these cards, and then we're going to have some questions that are going to go along with these. That should be the next one. Okay, so what we're going to do is one by one, we're going to hand these out. The facilitator is going to give it this, they're going to read that aloud, and then we're going to talk a little bit. So we have some questions that we have that are up on the screen that you can continually look back at. And it's a reminder that these are global, national. These are things that we're looking at for paces of change. As Mrs. Adams said, there's a lot of things that have changed over the years. When I was in school, way back when, computer, maybe one in a building, one in a classroom, things have changed a great deal. Now we have students walking around, each one of them with a computer and a laptop or a Chromebook. So these are the questions that we'll be going through, and these are the things that we'll talk about at your table. So has any of these global trends or forces impacted your household or the community you live in? If so, how? How have these changes impacted the workplace, surrounding area, including places of work and members of your household, family, and neighbors? Do you believe any of these changes have impacted PK-12 education or will have an impact especially at West Clermont? Again, our focus is on West Clermont. We're on the rise, we're moving in the right direction, but we need help, we need input, and we need your voice. And that's what tonight's all about. What impact do you believe these pace of change forces and trends have now or will have on the district as we move forward? So facilitators, we got 15 minutes. It says 20, but we're doing 15. Feedback. Make sure everyone's awake. One by one. Questions on the board. Ready, set, go.
We have another problem we're dealing with, so you do your own clock for now.
Put a school dude in.
We are doing it right now.
Huh? I have no idea what that is.
that screen?
It was,
What was the honor system screen?
it was end block. So when you block, the end block extinction excel, it launch that tab.
What did I have block extension? I don't think I understand.
Alright, so the PowerPoint that David had loaded on it was the incorrect one. So that's
I know.
what made you
So,
switch to it.
hopefully you have
The one that I sent.
about 5 more minutes. Hopefully you got the cards out.
I thought David had the correct one. which is
Good.
fine.
Or if you're still on the first card, you're a little behind.
Google profiles, so I could get to my email, so
Yeah.
I could get to
Yeah,
the correct PowerPoint.
I get all that. Yeah.
So when I logged in and synced my profile, it synced my extensions. One of them is AdBlock.
Okay.
When
Probably
AdBlock-
shouldn't have synced your profile. All you had to do was log in and get the permissions you needed without syncing.
Yeah.
I never sync to other machines I don't use regularly. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Okay.
Yeah. So when it did its thing.
Okay. All right. Let's try and stay on top of this because the last thing I want now, and it should be solid, it should be okay, but I don't want anything to slip.
We're less than a minute. Wrapping it up, less than 1 minute. All right, we're going to bring it back around. Anything, take about 1 or 2 minutes. Anything, the cards that you read through surprised you, shocked you, or you'd like to make a comment? Don't be bashful, because I will have voluntold you. Okay, anybody? Jack? Nothing on those cards surprised anybody. You got one? That's over there.
So I was surprised to learn that in 2018, which was 4 years ago, that there were 44.7 million foreign-born individuals or immigrants in the United States, and that represents 14% of the country's population. I had no idea it was that high.
Great piece of data there to find out where we're at and where we're going. We got another comment over here.
I was surprised to learn about how often people change jobs, because I grew up in a house where my grandfather and my father got a job at one company and they stayed there till they retired. And so I have a lot of friends who have switched places where they work, but not careers. So I thought that was really interesting.
You know, it's a great comment, because we're dealing with that right now with people moving jobs. I have 5 children, all ages 22, 23. I don't know how, but they're somewhere in the 20s. And I know 3 of them have changed jobs 3 times. And that's this generation. That's what we deal with. Any other quick comments before we move on? All right, we're going to move on to our next activity. The next one we're going to talk about are current realities. Some of these cards will shock you. We're going to do the same thing as before, facilitators. We're going to go one by one again. You can go ahead and hand them out to everyone, but we're going to read through them one by one so that we can take a look at those and react to those as well. We're going to have same questions that we had before. We'll have 3 questions as before. Do any of the data information on these surprise you? Kind of going back to what we did before. Also, which of these current realities are challenges and which are opportunities? And then finally, looking at the cards, if you could summarize in 1 or 2 sentences, what would that be? The current realities are what we deal with as a school district day-to-day basis, year-to-year, month-to-month. And this is the important part. This is the feedback that we really need to look at. We need your help, and we need your voice. So, facilitators, go ahead and hand those cards out, and we'll read through those one by one, and we'll have another 15 minutes for current realities. On your tabletop, you will see in that top portion current realities, trends, and uncertainties. From left to right, you have challenges and opportunities. You can place those cards on the placemat as you go through those. about the 5-minute warning, 5 more minutes. About 1 more minute, 1 more minute. All right, that's going to conclude that activity. We're going to talk for just a few minutes and we'll be moving on to our tabletop. I probably should have said at the beginning, but tables had different topics. There were the 5 topics that Amy and Chuck talked about earlier. So not all the tables did the same topic. And after you went through the cards, anything shock you? You said, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Anybody? They're all looking here. Tell me what you thought.
We were surprised by the lack of resources in the libraries and the average copyright date of 2006.
Yep. And Tanny's here today, and she is the expert on that. And she's an advocate for our libraries. You've got one over here.
Alcohol has increased while the high school data has shown a decrease.
7th and 8th grade showed an increase higher than high school for alcohol usage. Anything else? Over here.
Her model predicts
100 more students at Merwin. And the date was the date again? 2024. That's not far down the road. You see some of the challenges that our school district has as we move forward in our Board of Education. We have some decisions to make, and this is what this is about.
Okay, Aaron's making me read this one, but I agree. According to a Gallup poll, workers in K-12 education have a higher level of burnout than in any other industry.
That is absolute truth. I just went to a conference on human capital at Battelle in Columbus, and the number 1 burnout was 12 teachers. Yes, ma'am.
So I kind of want to piggyback off of her point here with the different reasons like why teachers left West Clermont. I was kind of shocked that only 3.8% felt not adequately supported. I thought that would be a lot higher, so good job to the West Clermont administration and staff members.
Thank you. And I'll take full credit for that. So no, this is a great place to work. It's a great community. We have great parents and great students. That's why people stay. And that's when we move forward. And that's why we look at our current realities and then what's in the future. So we're going to move on to the tabletop. And David's going to take over.
David's going to take over. So the Jetsons, let's talk about the Jetsons for a moment. It was set in the year 2062. So when they were envisioning the future here, they were envisioning 2062. That's how we know that George Jetson is 40 this year, because in 2062 he turned 40. So those of us with simple math skills can do the math. George Jetson turned 40 years old this year. One of the things we want you to do right now as we get into this next round is your facilitator is going to pass out one of the larger sheets here. And I don't want you to go as far as 2062 into the future, but I want you to think 3 to 5 years into the future. 3 to 5 years. I want you to think about the topic at your table. And I want you on that Post-it note to write down, I'm sorry, not Post-it note, excuse me. Chuck, you're right. The larger note. I want you to write on that note. It could be a scenario. It could be some phrases, some words, but I want you to think about what that world looks like 3 to 5 years down the road. What are people doing? What are people doing differently? What are they saying? Again, it's relative to your topic. And as you think about this, think about the kind of change that represents. Is it a simple change? Is it an incremental change? Now, an example of an incremental change would actually be this image that you see here. You still see students sitting in rows looking at a chalkboard. You have a robot teaching the kids. That's an incremental change, not a transformational change. A transformational change might be children being carted to school by unmanned drones as they get a lesson via video on the drone. That would be an example of a transformational change. So take yourself into the future, 3 to 5 years. Think about what that should look like. Not what you think it will look like, but what it should or you would hope that it would look like. Is that clear? Everybody, you want to do that on your own? You'll have 4 or 5 minutes on your own to work independently to do that. And then when you've done that, you will read those to each other. And then we will come back and talk about the SWOT analysis that we'll do. So let's start the clock, 5 minutes. Think of the future. And about 2 minutes left. Sixty seconds.
Hands up.
And a big help to my helpers here. Those cupcakes really look good, by the way. All right, time is up. Now, here's what we want you to do. This is the fun part, all right? You're all gonna take a few moments at the direction of your facilitator and read your future vision statements to each other. Read them to each other. We're gonna give you about 3 or 4 minutes to do that. Go ahead. Raise your hand if you need another minute or two to finish reading. Okay. All right, try to wrap it up in about 1 more minute if you could. I don't want to cut anybody off. Raise your hand if you're not done yet. Okay, 1 more minute if you could.
gentlemen, time is up.
So you realize what's happening here. This is the first of the 12 jobs they will have, and it's an extra cupcake. Okay. Thank you, ladies. Really appreciate your help. All right, I hope that we've had some good envisioning. Raise your hand if you heard some interesting things at your table, visions from others. All right. Now, I want you to take those and I want you to put them on the sheet. We want to be able to collect these. And now we're going to toggle just a little bit. Your facilitator will hand out a Post-it note. How many of you have done a SWOT analysis before? Okay. I know it sounds like a fly is in the room or something, all right? So at the bottom of your game board, the tabletop exercise, you will see strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I want you to think about your table topic, all right? You can see the questions up here. You can see them, well, I guess you can't see them on the sheet, so look up here. I want you to list the strengths, or think about the strengths the school district has focused on the table topic. Where do they excel? Where do they shine? What does the school district do well at? What are the strengths, in other words? And then move to the weaknesses. What are the known weaknesses or vulnerabilities that exist with that table topic? If it's programming or transportation or safety, what are the weaknesses? Then you'll move to opportunities. This is an opportunity to brainstorm a little bit. Brainstorm some opportunities that you think the district should explore that address your table topic. What are some ideas and possibilities for the future? This is a little bit like the envisioning exercise that you just did and shared. And then finally, threats. Brainstorm some threats or barriers, hurdles that would need to be addressed in order for you to be successful. What are some of the challenges that you must overcome? And we will have 20 minutes to do this, and the timer starts now.
Just a reminder, it's really important for you to get that feedback on the Post-it notes for us. This is the most important thing for us. We've set the tone with the pace change. We've gone through the realities, and now we need your help. Just a reminder, please make comments in all 4 quadrants if you could, please. Seen a lot of great comments. Just check your sheets, make sure we've got post-it notes. We're under 5 minutes now. Again, we're really looking for your ideas on the opportunities for the future. All right, we're down to the last couple minutes. as you're going through these, we are going to get a little feedback on each quadrant. So if you have something burning that you'd like to share with the group, we'll have an opportunity for that. We'll start that in about a minute. So final thoughts, please put those on the Post-it note, and we will move to our next. All right, we're gonna, wait a minute, we've got, no, they're gonna say stop? They're off, they're off. All right, so here we go. First of all, thank you guys for coming tonight. I want to hit a couple key things in each one of the quadrants. This take about a minute. Anybody have a strength that they want to talk about? I walked around, I saw a lot of things. Anybody, strength that you identified that you'd like to share? Our staff is fantastic, yes. Any other strengths? If not, we're going another hour to figure out what's going on. Wow, look at the hands going.
Something that was said over here was engaged leadership.
Engaged leadership. Fantastic. All right, talk a little bit about weaknesses. I like to call those challenges.
Be sure to mention your tabletop. Well, what was your top?
Right. Any challenges? Fantastic. Oh, here we go.
Facilities. So we have several challenges for facilities. Number one being money.
Money, cash. And our topic over here was safety and well-being.
Elementary schools need counselors.
Counselors at the elementary school is a need. How about opportunities? Anybody with opportunities? I see a hand over here, and your topic is purpose and design.
Mine was just kind of being creative with the school day, school year, maybe looking at like all year school, 4-day weeks. When are the kids having a better chance of learning? That kind of stuff.
Flex scheduling, flex calendars, looking at things differently than what we do traditionally. Opportunities over here, and again, this is safety and well-being.
You have the opportunity to have high school students make an impression on younger students in regard to substance abuse.
Peer mentoring programs. Working in the elementaries, high school students going to the elementaries. How about threats? Got one up here. Good doctor.
A little controversial, but I think it applies, and our topic is health and safety, and this applies to the mental well-being of our students. And a threat that I've identified is politics in the classroom. In my judgment, politically charged topics and issues have absolutely no role in the classroom. That is not the role of the public education system. It's publicly funded, so there should be absolutely no emphasis, right, left, or otherwise, in the classroom. I believe that is a threat to the mental well-being of our children, and those topics, those issues should be categorically excluded from our classrooms.
Thank you.
Okay, we've come to the home stretch here. We've had the opportunity to look at some pace of change issues and discuss them, some current realities. You've done an envisioning exercise, and I'm really looking forward to reading some of those, so do make sure that they're attached to your sheet. And you've done a SWOT analysis, so I want you to give yourselves a round of applause, first of all. We'd like to conclude by giving you an opportunity. Now, normally we would have you write these questions down and submit them. We didn't do that tonight. We'd like to give you the opportunity to ask Natasha and some of her leadership who are here some questions. It can be about the activity that you've done, your topic, questions that you might have. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being a sub. That is one of our top challenges every day. When we aren't able to find subs, your teachers are bringing kids into their classroom, doubling up, layering kids in. We have other people coming off their jobs to come into the roles to serve as substitutes. And although we've made a lot of efforts to create building subs so that subs who show up at the same building every day, so there's a bank of people we can count on for sure. We've also offered some financial incentives. The pool is shallow, and so thank you for subbing in our school district. We want it to be as attractive as we can be and sustain our work here. So, other questions or great comments like that?
Look, we'll bring back Randy Gephardt if there aren't some more questions.
Well, I'd like to, one more statement. I went to Merwin. I am 64 years old, and the school is not due. So we're looking forward to the district's plan for new facilities.
Yes, and we'll be bringing you all around. I mean, this process of starting to look at the challenges, and although it's kind of overwhelming to take in 5 big topics, they all are interrelated. And so we want to make sure that our future plans for the districts are driven by the needs of our students, the programming we want to offer, and not just about brick and mortar, because we're more than brick and mortar, but certainly we need to address some things. And we want to make sure that everybody understands the why and understands what it's going to take for us as a community to come together to ensure that our students are socially, emotionally taken care of, that they're academically progressing and being successful, and that they have the environments that they need to thrive. Because environments of the way we went to school are just not, they're not going to serve the needs of the diverse population that we serve today. Other questions? Yes. What is our current teacher retention rate? Our HR superintendent is here, so you're ready to jump on it. You turned in your seat really fast. 15%. So what when I first came here, we had like double-digit turnover. So that 5 years ago, we were seeing double digits. It was like 12, 15, somewhere in there, and we were able to stabilize. We got to about 6%, and then at the end of this school year, we saw 83 teachers left the school system that we've had to replenish. It was a heavy lift this summer, and one of the cards somewhere it breaks down. If somebody has it, I can read it. It breaks down all the percentages and why people left, because it's a whole array of, it wasn't like a mass exodus from any school. It wasn't a mass exodus from any grade level. It was across the board, and the reasons were 15.2% were retirement, 5.1% moving out of the area or out of the state, 7.6% for childcare or family or medical reasons, 12.7% is not a good fit, and that was kind of a mutually agreed not a good fit. Better salary and position, 22.8%. So we did have teachers leaving here for $10,000 more than they make here. Better location to home, 22.8%. So some teachers who are young, moms or dads who could literally like just walk to the same school that they, you know, in the neighborhood that they live in. Not feeling adequately supported, 3.8%, and then 10.1% left the profession. And I'll say this is the second year in a row where we've had somebody leave the profession in the middle of the year, which is not really heard of in education. So one person left last year to go work in a bank, work from their home, and almost doubled salary. And so these realities of this, you know, the calendar of an educator used to be a really attractive quality that we shared as educators, as a perk or as a benefit. The kinds of flexible schedules and the kind of opportunities that exist in industries around us are certainly competing with that now in ways that they've never been able to compete with education. And we had recently someone in the last 2 weeks said, this isn't for me, I'm out. And that is, it's just not a typical thing in education. Usually you're making it through the year if you make that decision. And so one of the things that we're doing, Randy had mentioned the human capital effort. He and David and a small team of people are doing some professional development with Patel for Kids, one of our educational partners in Columbus. And we have built, as a sidebar of that, a retention team. And so it started this week. We had focus groups with our teachers. We divided them up into like 0 to 5 years of experience, 6 to 10, and so on, so that we could really hear the voice of the different generations of teachers. We used a third party to do that so that it wasn't them talking to us, so they could be as open and share everything that they want, because we want to know what keeps you here, what draws you to West Clermont, what will keep you here. And the whole point of this team is not to get into salary, because certainly salary is a topic and it has to be addressed, so that's for down the road. But right now it's what are all the other things that would attract you and keep you in this environment, because there's a lot of competition out there for us that has not existed in education. Like competitive schedules, perks of the job that just aren't available in public education. And so we're trying to think of what are all the things that we could possibly do that would keep people from looking over the fence to greener grass. Because I will add as well, we had a staff member this year who left 2 years ago, who returned, who said, yeah, that grass wasn't green and I wanted back in West Clermont. So took less pay to come back here to be part of what we were doing. We've had also, and these are anecdotal kinds of things, but we've had a couple teachers leave to districts, high-performing districts, that they're thinking, I'm going to arrive and everything's going to just fall in place. And they are, you know, calling, letting us know, we really miss West Clermont. We miss what's available there, and we actually miss the things, you know, we had a lot going on. We were moving in the right direction, and this district is behind, or, you know, whatever. So those are one-offs here and there. So we want to get really good at really sharing our brand, making sure we're very clear about what it's going to take to keep our teachers here, because that's our #1 priority. If we start to lose teachers year over year over year, you just can't build, you can't grow, you can't take it to the next level. And there has been tremendous growth over these last couple of years. The kinds of risks that teachers are taking, the innovations in their classroom, what they do here is absolutely incredible considering the resources that they've had in their hands. And although we've been able to add some things back in over the last couple of years, it's like they teach with 2 hands tied behind their back. It's miraculous, to say the least. And I echo what Bob said. And what the reality is, it's not sustainable to stay in the model that we're in. It's like saying, I use this analogy, it's something like a Ford analogy. Ford would say, back in the day when we were thinking about, you know, Model T Ford, if I would have asked everybody, they would have said, get me faster horses. When what needed to happen is we need a new way of doing it. We need a car. And he said, because that's all people know. And that's why when we talk about that Jetsons picture and say, okay, this is all we know, but the truth is, one teacher standing in front of a room with 25 to 30 students trying to meet every single need with the amount of needs that walk in the door. And this is not about poverty alone. This is not about single family homes. This is about the whole population, because everybody has gone through COVID. Everybody has a thing, no matter what kind of family you come from. Everybody has a need. And expecting the teachers to meet that standing alone, 1 to 30 in a classroom in the way that we're doing it today, is not sustainable to keep people mentally well and coming back year over year over year. Like, we have to rethink it. And it's an uncomfortable, hard conversation, but that's why we're starting these conversations. Because our teachers are everything in the school district. And we cannot afford to just see people feel so defeated, so inadequate, because there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to manage, there's a lot to handle, and it just feels like nothing ever comes off the plate. There's always just things put on the plate. And so I don't share all this to whine and say, oh, poor educators, poor us, poor us. It's really just to put reality in everyone's, in your sphere, so that you are leaning in, listening to teachers, understanding what their days are like, and understanding that we're serious about these 5 topics, that if we're going to progress as a community, look around, we've got bulldozers and tractors and construction going on everywhere, the highways being improved. I mean, this is the place to be. We want to make sure that we are building an infrastructure, both of human capital that's strong and can sustain and endure. At the same time, the infrastructure of our community is shifting and changing. And it just feels like it's happening fast. Everything, it feels fast. And so we keep our eye on the prize, we keep our hands on the wheel, and we want to put our students at the center. And we can't do it by ourselves. And that's what, like, begging is maybe a strong word for right now, but moments like these and rooms like these, we cannot afford to have empty seats. We can't. And I'm so grateful that everybody's here, but we need people sitting at these seats here, hearing the messages, sharing their thoughts, being a part of this. Because the community strength really lies in the school district being the hub of the community. And we have that potential, but we're really challenged right now. And again, I'm not a whiner. I'm a fighter. We're gonna figure this out. I'm a fixer. But we just have to make sure that we're putting the same data and information in your hands that we use, so that you can lean in with the same urgency that we have, and we can get creative solutions. Because I know we're not gonna be creative just sitting in our offices trying to figure out by ourselves. It's the diversity of this room, the diversity of this community, that I think will bring great answers to some of these big challenges. And I guess I just kind of started doing a sermon.
Natasha, I have a question for the group that I
Okay.
think might inspire a question for
Okay.
you. So you've all been talking about one of 5 topics tonight. You saw those on the board earlier. In the spring, we actually did a React survey, and we asked the community which of those were most important. So my question for you is, of those 5 topics, which topic do you think was most important to the community? And I will tell you, it was most important by a long shot. What do you think it was?
I'm hearing safety and wellness.
It was staff and student safety and well-being. You are absolutely correct. That information was gathered in the spring. Now, raise your hand if you have a student who is in 5th through 12th grade at West Clermont. Okay. Keep your hand up if you're aware that those students at the end of October did a safety survey in class. All right. We just recently concluded the results of that. Now, this was the work of Mike Overby, and Natasha wanted to go out and actually survey those students and gather feedback. One of the questions that Natasha wanted to ask them, at first it didn't seem like it was related to safety. The question was, is there at least one teacher, administrator, adult at your school that you would feel comfortable going to, sharing information with, and talking to? And over 80% of students said that there was. The question that I have for you is, do you think that there's a correlation between how students feel about teachers and adults in their school and how safe they feel at school? Absolutely, there was. Natasha, maybe you want to comment on that because that was your question that you wanted in there.
Yeah, it was important to me, and although I am very pleased to see that 80% said yes, but I'm thinking of 20% that didn't. And that's what keeps me up at night. That's what keeps me driving for change, because those kids matter. Like, if we put everyone's kids' faces up on the wall up here in this beautifully decorated gym, and we X'd out 20% of them, some of your kids, those would be the ones that didn't feel safe and feel connected to adults. And so it's not okay for those kids. So, you know, I always, you know, you want to celebrate the positive, you want to build on that. 80% is a great number, and we do a bang-up job for most people. Most isn't enough, and that's true about our vision too. Our vision is for all students to be successful and to walk across that stage with the skills and mindsets and competencies that they need to be successful in life. It's not for some kids, it's all. And we can't be successful continuing in the old factory model that we've been in and just kind of chugging along and going, oh, well, we missed that one. It's not okay. And if some of you probably saw on your data cards, when kids come to our school district, 45% of them are ready for kindergarten, according to the Ohio assessments, 45%. And so that gives us a steep climb from the minute we meet students to get them back on track to a place where they can graduate and be successful. We have to look at that as a community. What can happen from the cradle to the schoolroom door that can turn that trajectory around? What needs to happen once they do walk in the door? Do we need to have everybody who's 6 years old go in this room, who's 7 years old go in that room, and who's 8-year-old go in that room and continue, or do we need to think differently? And so that's just what we're asking here, is that we don't have all the answers. We're not going to try to shove a plan down anybody's throat. We want to uncover what are the biggest issues and what are the best levers that we can pull to start leaning into this change. We're not going to try to throw the baby out with the bath. But we have to just look it in the face and just say what we're doing isn't sustainable. And does that mean we're doing a bad job and that we aren't working ourselves to death every day? No, it's actually quite the opposite. And that's why it's serious. We need people mentally well, being able to come to school every day and do this job and feel successful. We need joy in education. And it's not that there is none. It's just these last couple of years have been challenged. And we know right now, the pipeline for educators across Ohio right now, there's 40% less people even going in the field of education. And so the pool of choices of just coming into our profession is more shallow than it's ever been. Right now we have 6 positions, is it 6? 6 positions that are not filled with a teacher other than a sub, because we can't find a PE teacher, a math teacher, a science teacher, a art teacher, and there's one other category. Special ed teacher. And never in a million years would you say, well, there aren't any PE teachers out there, or there aren't any art teachers out there. Like, usually there's an abundance. And so, like, we're in a different time. We're in a different space. And that lower percentage means we have to act. So, like, one thing, so West Clermont realizes this, so what do? This year, Randy started at the high school last year, a teacher academy. There are 30 students, I can't remember which is it, there's 30 in one grade and 40 in the other, juniors and seniors, who are working to further their high school experience by adding a teacher academy experience with it. And so they are learning what it's like to be a teacher, what all the components are. They're going out and helping in the elementaries and in the middle schools, and we're building a pipeline. We want to get those kids right back to us, and we have to be really creative in how we do that. I've spent time talking to Dean Bauer about it at UC Clermont. They're doing some amazing things at UC Clermont, just down the street. What they're doing with their high-flex hybrid learning, they're creating all kinds of opportunities for kids. A lot of our kids go there. How do we continue to think outside the box, partner with the right people, and make sure that we are building the workforce of the future? Because we would be very proud to say that we are moving along in the same way that UC Clermont is, and how they're being creative about reaching the needs of kids. They are, I would say, ahead here in the city on some of the things that they're doing, and we want to partner with them so we can learn from that and just get better. Yes? Yes. David, you know it more than me. Where's David? Oh, the answer is no. Okay, everyone knows. No, I know there were some open-ended questions on this. Wasn't there, was one? There was only one open-ended question, so we were, what we were trying to do though, and when he broke down the data, try and correlate between levels of safety and who has friends, who has adults they can trust, and just trying to make some, to correlate. We are focused mostly on physical safety, but it's just hard to stay in the physical safety realm and not talk about that emotional, psychological safety too. So, you know how every survey turns into like, we have more questions and we need more data? This will evolve. We'll keep unpacking it. And maybe over time, it might be something that we just continue to ask that question every couple months and just see, is that turning? Because what we believe really needs to happen is that every kid in West Clermont, we need to know their name, we need to know their story, strengths, and we need to know their needs. And everyone has to feel that when they walk through the door. And I believe we can do it. It just takes intentionality, and it takes energy, and I know we can do it. It's just kind of, you have to start with awareness. And I know we were meeting with a group of parents last night about it, and they were like, oh my gosh, seriously, like there's some kids who don't have a connection with the teacher. And it's just hard to fathom in so many ways. But I just do think as a whole society, you think, like walking down the street, people are like, look at this, they're looking down. Like, we behave socially different in this era, and kids are picking up on those same skills. They're distant sometimes, and so we have to use different strategies to break through it. And I don't say it to blame us or shame us. It's what modern society has done. We have to kind of step out of it, notice what's happening, and really work to stretch an arm out to this next generation and bring them along. They're not bad kids. They're not terrible. They're wonderful kids. They're amazing. They just interact and connect with the world differently, and we've got to get into that space with them. Yes.
I'm the mental health specialist here at Merwin and at Willowville, and a couple weeks ago we went to the whole child event, and there's a lot of child-focused people there, and we talked a lot about the issue was attendance and like how do you get kids to come to school if they're not coming to school, and we talked a lot. I mean, for us, it always goes back to mental health. You know, like why did they not feel safe? Why do they not feel comfortable coming here? Is it because school's hard? Is it because they're bullied? You know, like what is the reason? And we talked about too just how, you know, there's only one of us usually at each school, and how we wish we could do more, and we wish we could be there for all these kids, but you know, obviously that's not always possible. But we talked about too just making sure that, even maybe an idea I had was, you know, every school needs to have just like a team of teachers or staff volunteers that our kids can go to when they are feeling upset or sad, and just know that, you know, if I'm having whatever issue it is, my parents are fighting, school's hard, I can go to one of this teacher, you know, to just get that kind of support. Because I would say in majority of our line of work, we just get a lot of kids that just need somebody to listen to them and just talk to them. And sometimes it is, they're feeling unsafe, and we want to know why. And I don't think a lot of time it isn't physical safety, it's another kid is being mean to them, or something's going on at home that makes them feel unsafe, and you know, it's hard, but there needs to be more of a support in that sense. Or just, not that there isn't, but kids need to know that there is, I guess.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a timing thing, because of a teacher being attached to a classroom of students, like the time that you need to do that when you're teaching is hard to do simultaneously. And all of our teachers are assigned to students all day, and there just isn't a personnel staff that's like, has that flexibility of time. And I think it's just sometimes like in West Clermont, we do have counselors. They exist in the middle school and they exist in the high school. So they are around for those kinds of moments. We don't have that level of staffing in elementary. And what I really want to end with here is that we've got to notice these things. And you're right, there are some solutions. Some of this isn't rocket science. It's a matter of like rethinking how we do work, and making sure that there's huge awareness. And what I want to end with is just the incredible story of West Clermont. We are on the rise. I know it's a statement you see in our literature, you hear from us, but the reality is the positive momentum in this school district is incredible. You can feel it. The academic performance is going up. We had in algebra, which is one of the subjects where across the nation you're seeing like decline across the board. Our algebra teachers ended up getting double-digit value added, which is showing growth of their students, some of the top scores across the state in value added in that. And it's just incredible, and it's because they're working very creatively, very differently to meet every kid's needs. There's some outlier, outstanding things that are happening that we can all learn from. Our special education programming has just been taken an incredible relook at themselves, and they've created a new model, a new continuum of services for special education students. It's going extremely, extremely well, and we're going to continue to see results from that. We've been able to add specials back into the schools so that our students are getting that well-rounded education in elementary school. It means our teachers get a half an hour away from their students so that they can collaborate and plan together. We just received just under $1 million in grants so that we can now add 3 therapists to our school. We're able to add an SRO, a school resource officer, through the partnerships and through the grants that we've gotten. And so what I want to leave you with is that we don't sit here and say these, we have these challenges and we're just going to curl up in a ball and say, poor us, what are we going to do? We are scrappy, we are creative, and we are willing to do whatever it takes to bring the resources into this district that we need to. And I'm very proud of the team. I mean, over how many millions of dollars? Almost $1 million plus, $1.5 million? We're about up to 1.8 just from this summer till today. And so we just want to make sure that you feel that passion that we have, that you see that these challenges are real and we're going to hit them face on, and that we can't do it without you. But we have a strong platform we can stand on. We have a staff that's incredible. We are working as a team and we're working to figure this out. And now that we can all be in the same rooms together, we just want to get back in that room and figure out, okay, what's the smartest, best way we can move forward? And that's why you're here tonight. And I just value so much your time, your energy around this topic, your questions, and I know the ideas we will certainly be able to take with us. And so here's what's coming next. We are going to start, we're going to end this series of town halls, and we're going to kick off another series in February. And we're going to start another chain. There will be like one a month for the entire spring. And so what I've asked that you do is, pay attention to those dates. It's going to be February 22nd. Invite your friends. There'll be lots of different opportunities throughout the school year so that we can build standing room only kinds of events where people are coming in, engaging with us, understanding what's going on so that we can build the future together. And so this is one strategy we're using. We'll use lots of others, including focus groups and more electronic kind of surveys, but we're going to take in all the data that we can, in addition to the data we have inside of our district. We're going to build a plan together. And we're not going to do this in a quick second. It's going to be a long-term process. Over the next 8 to 12 months, we'll be working together on this. And so I'm thrilled for your attention, for your time tonight, and I can feel your sincere care and concern for us. And I hope this didn't, for you, end on a downer, because I really want to give you hope for the future. West Clermont really is the place to be. And we are very, very, very proud of our progress, and we want to stay on the rise, and that's why the urgency to get together and talk about this is, you're feeling it loud and clearly from me. So we have some things tonight. There's a survey at your table that you could fill out just to give us back tonight, and then thankfully we have some great partners, so we have a nice little prize for you as you leave. We've got some parting gifts, if you will.
Facilitators, in your packet, wake up. In your packet, you have these, hand those out. All of our participants, please fill that out. Bring that over to the prize table, and you'll get some swag. So to get your swag, you fill it out, you bring it over. One other thing, if you had a question tonight, facilitators, you have index cards as well. If you didn't have a question answered, please write it. We will answer it, and this will be posted on the webpage. On the board, you'll see all of our sponsors. We want to thank you, partners, for tonight. We appreciate you guys being here. We fill out that survey. If you didn't get a question answered, again, you can write it down. We will answer it, and it will be posted on the webpage. All the things that you see will be posted. So once again, thank you guys. You're free to go to your next class and pick up your swag with your survey. Thank you guys so much.